Have you ever felt like you are always the one chasing? The one sending the message first? The one trying to keep the connection alive? The one hoping that this time they will finally treat you like you matter? Some people keep you close, but never close enough. They reply when it is convenient. They give attention when they feel like it. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin running after a place in their life that was never truly yours. But here is a powerful truth most people learn too late. The more you chase people, the less they value your presence. And the moment you stop chasing, everything begins to change. Your mind becomes quieter. Your self-respect begins to return. And suddenly you start seeing people exactly as they truly are. Buddhist wisdom teaches that much of our suffering does not come from losing people. It comes from holding on to those who were never truly choosing us. So what really happens the moment you stop chasing people who keep you as an option? Why does your life suddenly feel lighter, clearer, and more peaceful? And why do the right people often appear only after you finally stop running after the wrong ones? In this video, we will explore 8 powerful lessons that reveal what truly changes the day you stop chasing people and finally start choosing yourself. The more you chase, the more your self-respect quietly fades. At the beginning, chasing someone rarely feels like a problem. In fact, it often feels like love. It feels like loyalty. It feels like you are simply trying to protect a relationship that matters to you. You tell yourself that making the first move is normal. You tell yourself that relationships require effort. You tell yourself that maybe the other person just needs more time. So you keep reaching out. You send the message first. You check if they are okay. You try to keep the conversation alive even when their replies become shorter and colder. Sometimes hours pass before they respond. Sometimes days pass, but you still try to keep the connection from disappearing. You adjust your time for them. You adjust your expectations for them. Sometimes you even adjust your personality just to avoid losing them. And slowly, without realizing it, something inside you begins to change. At first, it is only a small feeling, a quiet discomfort, a feeling that you are trying much harder than they are. But because you care, you ignore that feeling. You tell yourself that love requires patience, but the heart always understands balance. And when balance disappears, the heart feels it. Deep down, you begin to notice something painful. You are the one carrying the relationship. You are the one trying to keep it alive. And the more you chase someone who shows little effort, the more your self-respect begins to quietly fade. Because every time you run after someone who is walking away, your mind sends a silent message to itself. It says that their attention is more important than your dignity. It says that their presence matters more than your peace. Over time, this slowly weakens the way you see yourself. You begin to question your value. You begin to wonder why you are not enough for them to stay. But Buddhist wisdom offers a powerful reminder about this kind of suffering. Much of our pain in life begins when we abandon ourselves in order to hold on to something outside of us. When the mind becomes attached, it starts believing that happiness depends on someone else's attention. But this belief slowly traps you, because now your sense of worth depends on how someone else treats you. And that is a fragile place to live. But something remarkable happens the moment you stop chasing. When you stop forcing someone to notice you, a quiet strength begins to return. You stop waiting for messages that never come. You stop overthinking every small interaction. You stop trying to convince someone that you are worthy of their time. And slowly, something important comes back into your life. Your self-respect. You begin to realize that your value does not depend on someone choosing you. You begin to understand that the right people will never require you to prove your worth again and again. And with this realization comes a powerful kind of peace. Because you are no longer running after people who hesitate to keep you. You are standing firmly in your own value. And that quiet return of self-respect becomes the true beginning of inner strength. The people who truly value you never need to be pursued. One of the most peaceful realizations a person can have in life is also one of the simplest. The people who truly value you never need to be chased. But many people spend years learning this truth the hard way. At first, we believe that if we just try harder, the connection will grow stronger. We believe that more effort will eventually bring more care. We believe that patience will slowly change someone's behavior. So we keep showing up. We keep reaching out. We keep making space for them in our lives, even when the effort coming back is very small. The mind creates many explanations. Maybe they are busy. Maybe they are stressed. Maybe they are just not good at expressing emotions. And sometimes these things may be true. But when someone truly values your presence in their life, something very simple happens. They make space for you. They respond to you. They remember you. They reach out without being reminded. Real care does not hide behind constant silence. Real connection does not leave you feeling like you must fight to stay in someone's life. When someone truly values you, effort flows naturally. Not perfectly, but naturally. They want to talk to you. They want to know how you are doing. They want to spend time with you. And this effort does not need to be forced. It does not need to be begged for. It appears on its own. But when you are chasing someone who sees you as optional, everything feels different. The connection begins to feel heavy. You are always wondering where you stand. You are always wondering if they still care. You begin to measure their interest through small signals, a message reply, a short conversation, a small moment of attention. And when these moments happen, you feel temporary relief. But deep down, the uncertainty remains, because real care does not create constant confusion. Buddhist teachings often remind us that forcing things creates suffering. When the mind tries to push life in a certain direction, it creates tension. But when things are aligned, they move with ease. This applies to relationships as well. The people who truly belong in your life do not require endless pursuit. They walk beside you willingly. They do not make you feel like you must prove your value every day. They do not leave you guessing whether you matter to them. When someone values you, their actions quietly show it, not through big promises, but through consistent presence. And something very interesting happens when you stop chasing people who give you little effort. You begin to notice who still remains. You begin to notice who reaches out. You begin to notice who actually cares enough to keep the connection alive. Some people disappear quietly, and that may hurt at first, but their disappearance also brings clarity. Because the people who truly value you never required chasing in the first place. They were always walking toward you. And once you understand this, relationships become much simpler. You stop forcing connections that drain your energy. You stop chasing people who hesitate to keep you. Instead, you begin to invest your time and your heart in the people who show you, through their actions, that your presence matters. And that simple shift changes the entire experience of relationships. Because life becomes lighter when you are surrounded by people who choose you naturally, not people who must be constantly pursued. Attachment blinds you to the truth right in front of you. Attachment has a quiet but powerful influence on the human mind. When you become emotionally attached to someone, your mind begins to see the world through a different lens. It does not see things clearly anymore. Instead, it sees things the way it wishes them to be. At first, this happens very slowly. You begin to feel connected to someone. You begin to care deeply about their presence. Their words, their attention, and their approval start to matter more and more. And once that attachment grows, the mind starts protecting the connection at all costs. Even when the signs become obvious, you may notice that they rarely make time for you. You may notice that their effort is much smaller than yours. You may notice that the connection only moves forward when you push it. But instead of accepting these signs, the mind begins to explain them away. You tell yourself that they are just busy. You tell yourself that they are going through something difficult. You tell yourself that maybe they just need more time to realize how much you care. And slowly, hope begins to replace clarity. You hold on to the idea of what the relationship could become instead of seeing what it already is. This is one of the most common traps of attachment. The mind becomes attached to a future that has not happened yet. You imagine how things will change. You imagine how they will eventually understand your value. You imagine the day when the connection finally becomes balanced. But while you are holding on to that imagined future, reality continues to show you something different. The effort remains uneven. The attention remains inconsistent. The feeling of uncertainty never fully disappears. In Buddhism, attachment is often described as one of the main roots of suffering, not because caring about people is wrong, but because clinging to something that is not truly stable creates confusion inside the mind. When the mind clings, it stops observing clearly. It becomes emotionally invested in keeping the illusion alive. And this illusion can last for months, sometimes even years. People stay in one-sided relationships not because they do not see the truth, but because they are afraid of what the truth means. Letting go feels painful. Accepting reality feels like losing something important. But something powerful happens when you stop chasing someone. When you step back, your mind begins to calm down. The emotional noise slowly fades. And once the noise fades, clarity begins to return. You start seeing their actions without the filter of attachment. You begin to notice patterns that were always there. You begin to understand that their lack of effort was not confusion. It was simply their choice. At first, This realization can feel uncomfortable, but clarity is never your enemy. Clarity is what frees you, because once you see the truth clearly, you stop building your happiness on something that was never stable to begin with. You stop chasing an idea. You stop holding on to a future that only existed in your imagination. Instead, you return to the present moment with open eyes, and that moment of clarity becomes the beginning of real freedom, because the mind that sees clearly is the mind that is no longer trapped by attachment. Chasing others slowly pulls you away from your own life. Many people do not realize how much of their life is slowly consumed when they keep chasing someone who does not truly value them. At first, it seems like only a small effort, sending a message, checking if they replied, waiting for their attention. But over time, this small effort begins to grow into something much larger. Your mind starts thinking about them more and more. You begin wondering why they have not responded yet. You begin replaying your last conversation in your mind. You begin analyzing every word you said, trying to understand if you did something wrong. A simple message that receives no reply can stay in your thoughts for hours, sometimes even days. You begin to check your phone more often. You begin to look for signs that they still care, and slowly, without realizing it, your attention becomes trapped inside their behavior. Your mood begins to rise and fall depending on how they treat you. If they respond warmly, you feel relief. If they remain distant, you feel heavy and uncertain again. In this way, your peace slowly becomes controlled by someone else's choices. Buddhist wisdom teaches that attention is one of the most powerful forces in our lives. Where your attention goes, your life energy flows. And wherever your life energy flows, your experience of life begins to form. When your attention is constantly focused on someone who is uncertain about you, your own life begins to shrink. Your thoughts are no longer centered on your growth. Your focus is no longer centered on your goals. Instead, much of your mental space becomes occupied by someone else's presence or absence. You begin to forget how much time and beauty exists in your own life. Your dreams quietly move to the background. Your personal growth slows down. Your inner peace becomes fragile because it depends on someone else's behavior. This is how chasing someone slowly pulls you away from your own path. Not in one dramatic moment, but in hundreds of small moments. Moments where your mind chooses them over yourself. But something remarkable happens when you stop chasing. The moment you stop running after someone who is distant, your attention begins to return to you. The thoughts that once revolved around them begin to fade. The space that was once filled with overthinking becomes open again. You begin to notice things you ignored before. Your own goals, your own interests, your own growth. You begin to rediscover the parts of life that were quietly waiting for your attention. Buddhist teachings often remind us that peace does not come from controlling other people. Peace comes from directing our awareness wisely. When your attention returns to your own life, something powerful begins to grow again. Your confidence strengthens, your sense of purpose becomes clearer, and the energy you once spent trying to win someone's attention begins to transform your own future. Because the truth is simple, your life is far too valuable to revolve around someone who treats you as optional. And the moment you stop chasing others is often the moment you finally start living your own life again. When you stop chasing, people reveal who they really are. There is a quiet truth about human behavior that many people only discover after they finally stop chasing others. When you stop running after people, their true intentions begin to reveal themselves. As long as you are the one constantly reaching out, constantly trying to keep the connection alive, the situation can feel confusing because your effort is covering the imbalance. You are sending the message first. You are asking how they are doing. You are creating the conversations. From the outside, it may look like the relationship is still moving, but in reality, much of the movement is coming only from you. When one person keeps pushing the connection forward, it hides the fact that the other person may not be putting in the same effort. This is why chasing someone can keep you trapped in uncertainty. You cannot clearly see their true level of care because your effort is constantly filling the empty space. But the moment you stop chasing, something powerful happens. The space becomes quiet, and in that quiet space, reality begins to appear. Some people simply disappear. They stop reaching out. They stop asking about you. They stop showing interest in keeping the connection alive. At first, this can feel painful. You may wonder if you did something wrong. You may feel the urge to go back and send another message just to bring the connection back to life. But if you pause and observe carefully, something important becomes clear. Their silence is not your failure. Their silence is the truth finally showing itself. They were comfortable with the relationship as long as you were doing the work, as long as you were the one reaching out, as long as you were the one trying. Once that effort disappears, the connection disappears with it. And although this realization may hurt, it is also deeply freeing, because now you are no longer trapped in confusion. Now you know where you truly stand. But something else also happens when you stop chasing. Not everyone disappears. Some people do something different. They notice your absence. They realize that something has changed. They begin to reach out. They begin to ask how you are. They begin to make the effort that once only came from you. These people reveal something important. They show that your presence actually mattered to them. They show that the connection was not one-sided after all. This is why stopping the chase becomes such a powerful moment in life. It removes the illusion. It removes the emotional noise that once kept everything unclear. And suddenly you can see people exactly as they are. Those who truly value you move toward you. Those who never truly cared quietly fade away. Buddhist wisdom often reminds us that clarity brings freedom. When you see things clearly, you no longer waste energy trying to change what is already showing you the truth. Instead, you accept reality as it is. You stop forcing connections that require constant effort from only one side. You stop chasing people who hesitate to keep you in their life. And you begin surrounding yourself with those who choose you without needing to be pursued. Because the moment you stop chasing people is the moment their true intentions finally become visible. The day you release control, your mind finally finds peace. One of the hidden reasons people keep chasing others is the deep desire to control how things turn out. The mind wants a certain result. It wants the relationship to work. It wants the other person to care. It wants the story to end in the way it imagined. So the mind keeps pushing. It sends another message. It tries another conversation. It gives another chance. Not always because the connection is healthy, but because the mind is afraid to accept an outcome it cannot control. This is where much of the suffering begins, because no matter how much effort you give, there is one thing you can never fully control: another person's heart. You cannot control what someone feels. You cannot control what someone values. You cannot control whether someone chooses to stay. Yet when we are attached, the mind tries anyway. It believes that more effort will eventually create the result it wants. So it keeps chasing. But instead of creating peace, this constant pushing creates tension inside the mind. You begin waiting for replies. You begin hoping they will change. You begin wondering when the connection will finally become what you want it to be. Your happiness becomes tied to their behavior. If they show attention, you feel relief. If they remain distant, your mind fills with anxiety again. In this way, your peace becomes fragile. It depends on something outside of you. Buddhist wisdom teaches a powerful truth about this kind of struggle. Much of human suffering comes from trying to control what cannot be controlled. The mind resists reality. It wants things to be different from what they are. And this resistance creates stress, frustration, and emotional exhaustion. But something remarkable happens when you stop chasing people. You stop trying to control their response. You stop trying to force the connection to grow. You stop trying to hold together something that the other person is not holding with you. And when you release that effort, the pressure inside your mind begins to disappear. You are no longer waiting for their attention. You are no longer measuring your worth through their behavior. Instead, you begin accepting a simple truth: their choices belong to them, and your peace belongs to you. This realization creates a kind of freedom that many people spend years searching for. Because once you release the need to control someone else's feelings, your mind becomes lighter. You stop overthinking every small detail. You stop chasing answers that may never come. You stop trying to change what another person has already decided. And in that moment, something beautiful begins to return: calm. Your mind becomes quieter. Your emotions become more stable. Your life begins to feel lighter again. You are no longer running after people who hesitate to keep you. You are simply walking forward on your own path. Buddhist teachings often remind us that peace does not come from controlling life. Peace comes from accepting life as it is. And the day you stop chasing people who treat you as optional is often the day you finally release the need to control what was never yours to control. That is the moment your mind begins to rest again. Letting go of the wrong people opens the door to the right ones. Many people are afraid of letting go, not because the relationship is healthy, but because the mind fears emptiness. The mind asks a quiet question: what if I let go and nothing better comes? So instead of releasing the connection, People hold on. They hold on to conversations that feel forced. They hold on to attention that comes only occasionally. They hold on to someone who keeps them close enough to stay, but never close enough to truly commit. This is one of the quiet traps of attachment. The mind becomes so focused on not losing someone that it forgets to ask an important question. Is this connection truly adding peace to my life? When you keep chasing someone who treats you as optional, your heart becomes occupied by that person. Your thoughts revolve around them. Your emotional energy stays tied to them. Even when the connection is weak, it still takes up space inside you. And this space matters more than people realize, because life, in many ways, works like a room. If the room is already full, nothing new can enter. The same is true for the heart and the mind. When your emotional space is filled with someone who is not truly present, there is very little room for healthier connections to appear. You may meet new people. You may have opportunities to build new relationships, but your attention is still stuck in the past. Your heart is still waiting for someone who is not moving toward you. So the door remains closed. Buddhist wisdom teaches that attachment often keeps us tied to things that have already lost their natural flow. We hold on because we are afraid of change. But sometimes letting go is not about losing something. Sometimes it is about creating space. The moment you stop chasing someone who does not truly value your presence, something begins to shift. Your emotional energy returns to you. Your mind becomes less occupied by someone else's inconsistency, and slowly, space begins to open inside your life. This space allows new experiences to enter. New friendships begin to form. New connections appear that feel lighter and more balanced. Many people later realize something surprising. Once they stopped chasing someone who ignored them, they began meeting people who appreciated them naturally. People who responded without hesitation. People who made time without being asked. People who valued the connection without needing to be convinced. Not because you suddenly became more valuable. You were always valuable. But when you were chasing the wrong person, your energy was simply invested in the wrong place. Letting go removes that blockage. It frees your heart from waiting. It frees your attention from someone who was not moving toward you. And once that space opens, life begins to bring different kinds of people into your path. People who see your presence as something meaningful. People who do not treat you as an option. Buddhist teachings often remind us that life is constantly changing. Connections come and go, but when you stop clinging to what no longer belongs in your life, you allow something more aligned to appear. Letting go is not the end of connection. Sometimes it is the beginning of the right one. And the moment you stop chasing the wrong people is often the moment the right people finally have space to enter your life. The moment you stop chasing is the moment you reclaim your power. The most important change that happens when you stop chasing people is not outside of you, it happens within you. For a long time, when someone keeps chasing another person, their sense of value slowly becomes connected to that person's attention. If the other person responds warmly, you feel happy. If they ignore you, you feel hurt. Your emotional state begins to depend on how they treat you. And without realizing it, you give them a kind of control over your peace. They may not even know it, but their behavior begins to shape your mood, your thoughts, and sometimes even your self-worth. This is how chasing someone slowly takes away your power. Not in a dramatic way, but in small, invisible ways. You begin waiting for their messages. You begin hoping they will choose you. You begin adjusting your behavior just to keep them interested. Over time, your life begins to revolve around someone else's attention. And this is where the real exhaustion begins. Because the human heart was never meant to live in constant uncertainty, Buddhist teachings often remind us that true freedom begins the moment we stop attaching our happiness to things we cannot control. And one of the most powerful examples of this is when you finally stop chasing someone who treats you as optional. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. Your mind may tell you to send one more message. Your mind may tell you to try one more time. But when you resist that urge and step back, something important begins to happen. You reclaim your energy. The time you once spent thinking about them returns to you. The emotional weight you carried slowly begins to lift, and with that space, your inner strength begins to grow again. You begin to remember something you forgot while chasing. Your worth does not depend on someone's decision to stay. Your value is not measured by how much attention someone gives you. Your dignity does not increase when someone chooses you, and it does not decrease when someone walks away. These realizations bring a powerful kind of freedom. You stop begging for effort. You stop chasing approval. You stop trying to convince someone that you deserve a place in their life. Instead, you begin living from a different place, a place of self-respect. You allow people to choose you freely, and if they do not choose you, You allow them to leave without chasing after them. This does not mean you become cold. It does not mean you stop caring about others. It simply means you stop abandoning yourself for people who do not value your presence. And something interesting often happens when you reach this point. Your energy changes. Your confidence becomes quieter but stronger. People can sense that you are no longer desperate for their attention. You are simply standing in your own worth. Buddhist wisdom teaches that true strength does not come from controlling others. True strength comes from mastering your own mind. And the moment you stop chasing people who treat you as an option is often the moment you take back control of your life. Because from that day forward, your peace no longer depends on someone choosing you. It depends on the powerful decision you made to finally choose yourself. Before we end, pause for a moment and reflect on something simple but powerful. Think about how much energy you have spent chasing people who were never truly choosing you. The messages you sent, the moments you waited, the hope you carried in your heart that one day they would finally see your value. Many people live this way for years, always trying, always proving, always hoping that effort will turn uncertainty into love. But life becomes lighter the moment you understand one quiet truth. You were never meant to chase people who hesitate to keep you. The right people in your life will never make you feel like you must compete for their attention. They will not make you question your worth. They will not make you feel like you must constantly prove that you deserve a place beside them. The moment you stop chasing those who treat you as an option, something beautiful begins to happen. Your mind becomes calmer, your heart becomes stronger, and your life slowly fills with people who choose you without hesitation. So if there is someone in your life who only keeps you close when it is convenient for them, take a deep breath and remind yourself of this. Your peace is too valuable to be traded for someone's uncertainty. Let them go without anger. Let them go without bitterness. Simply step back and return your energy to your own life. Because the moment you stop chasing people who refuse to choose you is the moment you finally choose yourself. And that choice will always lead you toward a life that is calmer, stronger, and far more peaceful than anything you were chasing before.